this is going to be part 2 of my manual brake swap. So the master cylinder that I have in the car, the bore size is too big, so it tries to push too much fluid and not enough pressure. So this one has a bore size of 15/16, whereas the one that's in there is 1 1/16. So this will have, it'll move a little less fluid, but it'll have more pressure, so it'll be an easier pedal feel. So I'm gonna have to see if I can get this rod out. There's a little clip on the inside here that holds that in there, and the one that goes for the Foxbody's got like a little curve to it. So I'm gonna see if I can take the one that I've got out and replace this one with it. And at the same time, they recommend you bench bleed these before you install them so that you don't get any air pockets within the master cylinder causing damage to it. The other thing that's going to kind of be a pain is that these lines are different on the manual master cylinder than they are on the power. Well, both of these connections are on the other side of the master cylinder. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of work on my brake lines, which is no big deal, but I'm probably going to get brake fluid everywhere. Alright, so I've got this thing as bench bled as I'm going to get it. I've got fluid coming out of both my ports here. I've got them blocked off. Now I'm going to remove the old master cylinder and put this one in. And the cool thing about non-power brakes, the cool thing about manual brakes, that you don't have to have the car running to test your brakes. The power brakes, it's really hard to test your brakes when the car's not running.
Alright guys, so the other thing I wasn't able to show you much of last time was the brake pedal connection. So you can see the rod going up the firewall, and you can see that kind of maroon looking pin. So that pin is what holds the rod onto the brake pedal. And then when you pull that pin out, it releases that sensor for the brake pedal and also releases the rod off of the brake pedal. Oh, look at that. All right. You can see the brake pedal is moving free now. There's nothing connected to it. The sensor's hanging there, and I've got the rod.
Alright, so I got the old master cylinder off and the new one ready, but I have a problem. Alright guys, so I had to go grab a couple of parts from the parts store. So the new master cylinder here, the line sizes were different. The fittings were different, so I just decided to get some new lines. The existing lines I had been reused, so this was one of them this was for the rear brake line. Just went from the master cylinder down to my proportioning valve. And then this one was for the front brakes, went from the master cylinder down to my line lock kit. If you don't know how to hook up a line lock, I've got a video about that too. Take a look. But I decided to go with some new lines. So I got some new lines, new fittings, and the reason I did this is basically because I couldn't find the right adapters. So all of these parts, I found these fittings and made them work when I swapped to 5 lugs a while back, and I used the 96 GT master cylinder, but now they're different fittings and blah blah blah. So long story short, new brake lines, and I'm gonna have to do a little bit of minimal bending. So my concern with this new master cylinder, you can see the rod is in there. This is the one that I have for the Foxbody, and it's got a little bit of a angle on it. What I'd like to do is replace them. They're about the same length, but the issue is that this one has a clip holding it on the inside of here. So I'm going to see if I can get this out, replace it with this one so that I don't have to wish and pray and hope that this fits. We will see. The other thing I might try to do is to just put this one in there and see if it'll line up with the brake pedal. If it does, great. If it doesn't, then I'll try to mess with that because I don't want to waste my time. This is the brake line I ended up bending for the, this would be for the rear brakes. So this one goes in the back port here, and goes up and over the front, and then down into my proportioning valve that goes for the rear brakes. Lines up very nicely. And the front one is for my front brakes. I had to use this adapter right here. So that adapter goes in, and then the other fitting goes into it. Right about like that. So these lines end up crossing kind of right about like that, if you can see that. So this one goes into my line lock, this guy right here, and then this other one here goes into my proportioning valve. Alright, I'm not sure you'll be able to tell or not, but the rod wasn't lining up right after I got everything in there, so I couldn't get this one to come out, so I had to bend it a little bit. You can tell it's down a heck of a lot more, but it hangs down a little bit. So the bend I matched up with this rod that was intended for this, so you can kind of tell the angle it's supposed to be at. It'll be a heck of a lot closer. It was binding up a lot, so now this should fix that issue. I'll get the brake lines hooked back up and put this all back in there.
Alright, so now we're in the car. We got the master cylinder installed, and you can see right here, that's the brake pedal, and this needs to go over that. And there's a little hole in there. Gotta get this bushing in there first. My hands are gonna be in the way a little bit here. There's very limited real estate, my apologies. So got that on there. Light the sensor on. And push that on the rest of the way. There we go. Whew. If you can still see that. And then the last thing is the pin. So you can see, get this cable out of the way, my hood latch. So now you can see the assembly here. That was kind of a pain in the butt to get that new rod onto there, but it fits and the brake pedal works. So the pin's on and the sensor is on as well.
Alright, so I got the master cylinder reinstalled with that the push rod bent down just a little bit so it attaches to the brake pedal easier and it doesn't bind up. And let me show you guys what. There we go. We got full range of motion. The brake pedal push is nice. You can feel when it stops right there. I'm gonna have to bleed the brakes a little bit, but for now we will leave it like this. It's pretty late at night. I'll bleed the brakes tomorrow, and then next time I've got it out for a drive, we'll see how it works. Pretty excited though. Got the manual brakes working. I've got the correct master cylinder. So I ended up using a master cylinder from an '88 Ford Ranger. With the old bore size on this was 1 1/16. 1 1/16. So what I read and came to be true is that if the bore size is much more than 1 inch, then it makes the pedal pressure really hard, depending on what brake setup you have. So I'm assuming if you had like dual piston caliper brakes up front, or even bigger than that, that something bigger than 1 inch would work good because it moves more fluid. But I've just got, I'm not sure if you can see the brakes that I've got in there, but they're just like 96-04 stock brakes, front and rear. So this is the master cylinder that I put in. You can see the brake lines, kind of how I had to run those to get them to work. Again, the back line right there, that one comes out, then goes up here to my proportioning valve, which would be that guy right there.
And then the one in front, this one right there, goes down around, and you can kind of see it snaking right there, and it goes into the front of my line lock. Then my line lock distributes it to that line there and that line there. So there's one on either side of the line lock that goes out to the front brakes. And this is the rear brake, so I'll be able to adjust that, dial it in so I don't lock them up before the front. So there you have it, manual brakes. You can see it's a lot cleaner look. There's a lot more room in here. I don't have that big bulky brake booster that's taking up a whole lot of real estate in here, so I'm really happy with it. We'll see how the performance is on the street, and I will definitely report back. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.